Scuderia Ferrari ended the first part of the 2024 Formula One Championship certainly in a more positive way compared to the same number of races in 2023. Last year, the Italian side reached the 14th round of the season, which was the Italian Grand Prix at the Monza circuit, with 228 points. This season has been more positive, and they have so far accumulated 345 points. It didn't take much to achieve such a performance upgrade, given the huge performance gap with which Ferrari started last season, inherited by new team principal Frederic Vasseur from the previous management led by Mattia Binotto. Since the Spanish Grand Prix at the Circuit de Catalunya, things have improved, with a clear development direction under the careful guidance of the French team boss, who has been implementing a real technical revolution in recent months. We have read some criticisms directed towards Frederic Vasseur in recent weeks, but the Frenchman is trying to fix the disasters of recent years, and the market moves made so far by the Maranello team are certainly encouraging. We are not just talking about Lewis Hamilton, who will finally be wearing red from the 2025 Formula One campaign, but also and especially the engineers coming from other teams, replacing those who have moved elsewhere, like Italian aerodynamicist and former Ferrari technical director Enrico Cardile, who has left the Italian side after the recent failures of the latest aerodynamic package, heading to Aston Martin. We feel and understand the disappointment of Ferrari fans. Similar to the 2022 championship, although in a very different way, the car started off well, even if not the best in some races like the F1 75 was in the first part of the season 2 years ago. 2 victories so far for the Maranello team, with Carlos Sainz at the Albert Park circuit in the Australian Grand Prix, and with Charles Leclerc on the streets of Monte Carlo in front of his home fans in Monaco, several other podium finishes, and currently a 3rd position in the Formula One constructors' standings, which is still important. It is also worth pointing out that Red Bull, who is still leading the standings but is no longer dominating for several months, is just 63 points ahead at this stage of the season. In between, we have McLaren, who can certainly count on the most in-form car at the moment. The team led by Andrea Stella has a great opportunity to overtake the Milton Keynes team in a few races, thanks also to Sergio Perez's poor performances, given the fact that the Mexican has been surprisingly confirmed in his position despite his disastrous season. But that is Red Bull's problem. Ferrari, for its part, seems to be slightly improving in terms of car competitiveness compared to recent races. Since the aerodynamic update package introduced at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, the SF24 single-seater has had several problems, which the Maranello technicians have tried to correct as much as possible at the Hungaroring in Budapest and at the 7.004-kilometer Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium ahead of the summer break. Between Zandvoort and Monza, when the championship resumes, a new aerodynamic package should arrive to bring the car back to a performance standard worthy of the name and in line with McLaren and Mercedes, the top 2 in Belgium, while we wait to see what will happen with Red Bull. Benedetto Vigna, chief executive officer of Ferrari, also commented on Ferrari's recent performances. In a call with analysts, he expressed his satisfaction with the car's performance this season so far, comparing it to the results recorded in 2023, which were certainly not pleasant for the most historic team in F1. The 55-year-old Italian physicist and businessman mentioned that Scuderia Ferrari approached the 2024 Formula One season with the goal of always fighting for the top positions. He noted that they were entering the summer break with encouraging signs, having achieved 2 victories this year compared to none in 2023 and 50% more points per race. The Italian added that the team remained focused and united, pushing hard to continue improving the car's performance and further reducing the gap to the leader. Some very nice words from the Ferrari chief executive officer, but objectively pointless and lacking any substance. We understand that Benedetto Vigna's role, like those who preceded him recently, is to look at the company's revenues. Since that alleged quarrel with Frederic Vasseur at the beginning of 2023, just a few weeks after the Frenchman took over at Ferrari, Benedetto Vigna has always stepped back a bit on sporting matters, and rightly so. Lately, he seems to have interfered with the potential hiring of Adrian Newey and the demands of the English car designer during the negotiations for a potential move to Maranello. Ferrari needs someone who can put sporting aspects first. After all, we are talking about Ferrari, which hasn't won since 2008, which is really too long. Fans don't care about the profits. They care less than nothing. For this reason, The less Benedetto Vigna interferes with what happens in Ferrari's sporting management, the better for everyone. Do we need to spend a little more to get Adrian Newey and his team? Do it, if you really believe that this top-notch hire can give the Scuderia the extra push needed to return to winning ways, since for one reason or another, it's always others who celebrate. Less overthinking, more courage to act, benefits everyone. In his time, Enzo Ferrari began building road cars to finance races and possibly win them. Today, the sale of Ferrari-branded supercars is so exuberant, successful, and constantly increasing that it almost makes you think that Formula One is, for John Elkann and Benedetto Vigna, a useless ornament, something that, if they could, they would cut without problems. Let's look at the numbers for the road cars. In the second quarter of 2024, net revenues amounted to €712 million, up 16.2%. We are pleased to announce excellent financial results for the second quarter of 2024, which once again demonstrates solid execution and continuous growth. Our net revenues and profitability increased by double digits thanks to a higher product mix and increased demand for customizations, which led us to raise our guidance for 2024. The quarter also saw the inauguration of the new e-building during a week of events focused on sustainable innovation with our stakeholders and the new victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. These are the exact words of the Chief Executive Officer of Ferrari. Driving the sales in particular were the Ferrari Puro Sangue, the Roma Spider, and the 296 GTS. From year to year, from quarter to quarter, it is almost impossible to find any negative data. Yet, the troubling thoughts about the future of F1 still haunts Ferrari fans. In fact, they are supported by the simple reasoning that perhaps, if we consider the cold numbers and the present, Ferrari can easily do without Formula One. The problem is that, beyond the proclamations and the usual phrases, it is difficult to understand what the real ambitions of John Elkann are. He seems like a very cold, pragmatic man with extremely clear ideas. One thing we know about the heir to the Agnelli empire is that he loves fashion. In this, he is similar to Lewis Hamilton, and perhaps that was the first contact, the first spark, that then led to the partnership which will begin with the first race of the next World Championship. Fashion always comes up in discussions about Ferrari, because the road cars are perceived as a luxury, and therefore if you are a luxury brand, it is not necessary for you to race and win. Just as defeats, if you are perceived as something related to fashion, do not in any way diminish your prestige. The sales figures seem to indicate what we are saying, and the numbers do not lie. Ferrari will certainly be seen as a luxury product and more related to fashion than to sporting feats. But this is only part of the story and relatively recent. Just like the very extravagant and hyperbolically priced clothing made in Maranello, from polos to suits and so on. But aside from luxury, the fact remains that the four-wheeled products are, first of all, works of extremely high engineering, with exceptional road qualities and state-of-the-art engines. It's not a scarf or an elegant dress. Ferrari is Ferrari because it has been and still is a racing team, because it still competes in motorsports, having won 2 consecutive Le Mans in the last 2 years. If Ferrari continues to lose and make a poor showing in the highest expression of motorsport Formula One, why should I, Mr. $1 Million, be fascinated by a brand with a glorious but centuries-old losing history in F1?